Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brandawg's broadcast. This is episode 9? Yes, it's episode 9, but it's week 10 because I skipped a week. Shout out to any of my viewers who have a slight stomach ache going on right now. I feel you. I got that going on too. Today, I'm still heavily in the Superman mood since I saw it a couple weeks ago now, and it was fun talking about it in my last review, but I didn't get to... I want to talk more about Superman and possibly more about the new movie in this video because of this podcast episode, because I'm going to be re-ranking my Superman ranking that I did a couple years ago because it's very outdated already, which is the thing... That's like the only thing that I don't like about doing these movie franchise review videos that I've been doing for years now. Is that like it doesn't take that long after the video is fully complete for me to change my opinions on some of these movies. It's happened with Batman and Spider-Man and Superman, and it will probably happen with other movies as well. Mine have stayed pretty much the same on like TMNT. I'm pretty much dead set that's like 100% how I feel, but it's only been a couple years since these other ones, and I already feel like my opinions have completely changed. But like the thing about my approach has changed a lot for how I do those videos. When I do them now, I make sure to watch it like quite a few times over and really get like the full picture, you know? But back when I first started doing this, I would kind of just rewatch the movie once and then like spiel all of my opinions that I kind of already had for years in like one quick, funny, like 7-minute review or whatever. And while I still kind of like some parts of those older videos, I do feel like they've aged a lot, not just in my opinions, but also in the quality of them. So I feel like at some point in the future, I'm probably gonna redo like the Superman ranking, but in its own fucking video, like a real proper franchise review. I'm probably gonna remake that one, and possibly Batman, but I don't think I'm as set on Batman. The quality for that one also isn't great, but my opinions on Batman haven't changed a whole lot since then. It's mainly just The Dark Knight Rises. Because when I watched that movie again for that video, it was the first time I saw it in probably a decade. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm feeling this is fun. And I was still coming off the high of the first two movies. But like, I tried to rewatch it again recently, and I kind of felt the same way I always did when I was younger. I just don't really think I liked that one as much. And I had a couple people point out in the comments why I don't think it's that great. And I kind of agree. I was a little too nice to that one. Because when I made those videos originally, I never wanted to like ruffle anyone's feathers too much. I was always like, well, these people, like, opinions on these movies are very split. You know, while I might not like something like Batman versus Superman that much, I should still try to recognize its good traits because there's a lot of people who do, and I still kind of try to do that. But also, like, nowadays when I write these videos, I'm less worried about other people getting mad about my opinions or something, because who cares? Like, it's my video, obviously. You're not going to agree with every single opinion I have, probably. But, like, that's something that I'm less careful about these days. Because I feel like that's one of the things I regret about those videos, too, was that I was a little too nice to movies that I don't really like, just because I knew that other people liked them. And I wanted to recognize their good traits more than anything. Like, a Batman versus Superman. I feel like a lot of the things I said are still kind of true about that movie's good qualities, but like whenever I rewatch that movie, which is not often, I just can't like enjoy it. I don't know. There's just something wrong about it that doesn't really work for me. And I feel like if I was to redo that video, a lot of those scores would go down, and that's kind of what this one's going to be when we get to that. But I'll probably put some timestamps at the bottom. Like, I've been doing that lately. I kind of forgot that that's the thing you can do on YouTube. I'll put some timestamps so you can just jump straight ahead to the Superman ranking if you want to, but real quick, I said last time, as you can see, I got out my Man of Steel Blu-ray. That's just the only Superman Blu-ray I own for some reason. I thought I owned like the first two and maybe Superman Returns, but I guess I don't. And I'll have to get on that at some point, but I haven't been collecting Blu-rays as much these last couple years as I did when I was like a teenager. I got really into that, and I bought most of the Blu-rays I still have now were bought back then. Like, I have like a decent amount. I have probably like 60 Blu-rays, which I know isn't like crazy compared to other people, but you know, it's still something. And maybe I'll do a whole Blu-ray like collection podcast episode at some point. I probably will. I don't know when, but I'll probably do that and actually share some of my opinions on them, because I hate those like Blu-ray videos where the person just stands there and goes like, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Like, what are your thoughts on these movies? You don't have to give me like a 5-minute spiel, obviously, but like at least be like, Spider-Man, great movie, classic, Tobey Maguire is really fun as Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's so good. Just like something like that, you know? But sometimes they just give you literally nothing. They just name all their Blu-rays, and I get it, because a lot of these dudes who have been doing movie reviews for like ever and make Blu-ray type stuff like that, they have like an insane collection of fucking Blu-rays. It is a ridiculous amount of Blu-ray movies, and they need to get through it in a reasonable time. So I get why they don't go into that much detail, but I always just found that a little weird when I was a kid. But anyway, like I said last time, I'm not a great comic collector in the sense that I don't really do it in any sort of pattern. I just kind of pick up at any point in any series and start reading, which I know a lot of people also do, and I kind of enjoy it, because you don't really need the full context a lot of these times to enjoy it. It's like Troy Oboyo put it best in his new Superman video. Go check that out. He talked about how in that aspect, this new Superman movie feels a lot like the comic books, because it really just kind of drops you in. Sorry guys, I didn't even realize for a second that I was pretty much out of the green screen. Like half my body was. That's embarrassing. Anyway, Troy Oboyo brings up the fact that in the sense, it's a lot like the Superman comics, this new movie is, in the sense of like, it just drops you into this well-established world already with like aliens and monsters and other superheroes, and it just, you don't really need a backstory on everything you're seeing to understand it and to like get it and like it even, you know? And that's kind of the appeal to just jumping in the comics at any point. And so yeah, that's always kind of been my approach. I just buy at random, because I also go to like comic stores where they have their main displays of like newer comics and stuff, but I'm always heading straight for like the fucking boxes that are just A to Z old comics and shit, you know, like that. Because that's how you find that. I go straight for the S. Sometimes they have a whole box called Superman, and I talked about it last time, but there was that place, I don't know if they're still open, that used to sell $1 comics not that far from me, and I would just go buy so many fucking comics. Maybe I'll do a comic collection video at some point as well. But real quick, I just wanted to show off the few Superman comics I do have, because I don't have a lot, but I do have a decent amount, and I want to get more, because Superman's become like one of my favorite superheroes to read over the last couple years, because I never really read his comics until I decided I wanted to do that video. I maybe had read a couple in the past, but I never like dedicated myself to it, and I wanted to take that different approach than with like other videos where I just kind of jump into it or something. Like, I didn't really read any TMNT comics or something, which maybe I should. I hear they're good, but I wanted to be like prepared. I wanted to really get into some Superman comics and have a more deeper understanding of him than I did before, and it was a great time, and I still really like Superman comics because of it. So yeah, okay, let's just I'll show these ones first, I guess, because these are kind of from a similar era to each other. They're both from the 90s, and I don't know if this is like a hot take, but I love 90s Superman so much with his mullet, as you can probably see. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see these things. I might have to like include actual side-by-side pictures of it, but you can see we got Superman and Action Comics, and I have quite a few, or I have just a couple, I think. Sorry, I thought I had more. I have a couple Superman and Action Comics, because I love me some 90s Superman. I love his crazy mullet. I love how every single story that I've seen from the 90s, or even just heard of, is pure insanity. You could tell they really threw everything at the wall, and it doesn't always work, but it creates some of the most unique and like exciting sci-fi type Superman stories that I've personally read. They focus quite, you'll see what I mean in a little bit, but they focus quite heavily on crazy shit like aliens and cyborgs, and our boy Parasite here, who, this is one of my favorite ones that I've read out of the 90s, because I fucking love Parasite. He's one of my favorite Superman villains just because he's so simple but he works so well as like a genuine posing threat to Superman, because his power is literally just to suck power out of other people pretty much. He's a parasite, and like Superman can't just fight him traditionally the same way he would everyone else. He has to be creative about it, because otherwise this guy could just suck him dry. He'll suck the fuck out of him. For some reason it looks like he's trying to eat him here on some boar shit, but I promise he don't be doing that very much. He doesn't usually be eating people, I think. Very good comic. I love 90s Superman in Action Comics, like I said. And here's another really good one. Power Surge. This one is fucking, like, as you could probably tell from this crazy cover, half of this book is just him not being able to stop his heat vision. And I don't even fully remember how it caused it, because I read this like 2 years ago. But like it is such a fun Superman type problem to deal with, and it's a very fun comic. Feels like an episode of the 90s animated series, which is probably one of my favorite Superman things ever. And yeah, great, more wonderful 90s Superman. This one came a whole year before that one even, and so as you could probably tell, I don't have a very cohesive, straightforward collection of these, but love Superman in Action Comics. Love me my mullet Superman. Bring him back, honestly, he's great. Here is another somewhat older Superman. This is also 90s. I was gonna say I couldn't remember when exactly it was, but they have it right here. It's 93, and this isn't mullet Superman, but this is still sick 90s Superman, and this one isn't in a case, so I can actually kind of flip through the pages and show you guys in a second, but it's the Reign of Superman, where you have this evil fucking cyborg ass Superman. I love the art style of some of these 90 comics. I think Superman looks really cool here. I love the way everything is shaded, and I really like this story a lot too, because it has this great mystery aspect, and it mainly focuses on Lois Lane trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on with Superman, because like everyone thought he was dead for a bit because of this crazy thing from the last comic. But as you can see, they're like, see him on the video and shit, and they're like, whoa, Superman's alive, I gotta go figure out what's going on with him. And it's this pretty fun little short mystery where she's trying to track down who she thinks is Superman, but it turns out to be this fucking crazy cyborg version of him. As you can see, very cool cyborgy-esque design for Superman. I like these kind of stories. I'm not as interested as like Superman stories where he's like scary and intimidating, but I like these older ones where it's like a mystery almost, where it's is this Superman but half cyborg, or is this just a cyborg that thinks it's Superman? Very fun. Okay, so I was right. I wasn't looking correct at my pile here. Most of them are Superman in Action Comics, and here are a couple good more ones. This one's a lot of fun, very wacky fucking visuals. I always forget what this villain's name is for some reason, so I'll put it up on the screen. I'm so sorry, because he's never really been one of my favorites of Superman's villains. He's just a little bit too silly for me, and I know that's a little crazy to say when I'm always talking about how I like campy superhero stuff, but he's just a little too strange. But I really like this one. Cool ass fucking art, of course, and it's still that classic 90s Superman that I just love. This one's a little later than the other ones. This is 1998, so by then, unfortunately, his beautiful mullet had left this earth, which is a tragedy. Here we have another Reign of Superman in Action Comics. This is also from 93, and it is Superman. Ironically, I know, because they're considering the new movie, it's a Superman and Guy Gardner crossover where they duke it out. And it is so fucking good. I love Guy Gardner, and I love seeing him interact with someone like Superman, where they're both technically heroes who care about saving the day, but their morals are so different, and it's so easy for them to butt heads. And yeah, this is a lot of fun to read. I like watching superheroes duke it out like everyone does, or reading, I guess. I don't really know why I said watching pictures. Here's another Superman in Action Comics. I think this is the last one. Yeah, there's only 2 comics left after this, and this is my last in Action Comics one. This is another great example of just like why the 90s Superman was so fun, because he was constantly fighting shit like this all the time, just scary, weird aliens. I don't know, this is like one of the this era of Superman is like one of the last ones that I really loved before they started getting into stuff like New 52, and Injustice. Fucking Injustice. But this is good. Very good, fun story. I can't remember it as well as the other ones, but I liked that one. And then we have Superman, Man of Steel, Lost Hearts Part 3. I haven't actually read this one yet, but I hear that it's really good, and I really like this art style a lot. And from what I can gather about this series, obviously, it's one of those series that really beats down on Superman and takes itself a little more tonally serious than other ones. And I don't know, it looks good though. I'm excited to check it out. This one is less traditional Superman, but I have this is one of the last Superman related ones I have. Convergence Detective Comics, and as you can see, we got old Red Sun Superman right there. I know a lot of people love Red Sun Superman, but that's never really been my thing. Like I said, I don't really care as much for like alternate versions of the heroes that are like just like, it just seems like it's a gimmick alone. Maybe I should actually give Red Sun Superman more of a chance and read all of his comics or whatever and watch the movie, but I don't know. It's like the same, it's just like this in the same vein to me as when someone's like, oh, you heard of the Batman Who Laughs? And it's like, yeah, I mean, haven't we put the Joker in a Batman costume before in like the 90s or whatever? It's not that, it's just not exciting to me as exciting to me as just the real deal. And I get why people would like Elseworld stories and stuff like that, but it's just not, for me personally, it doesn't interest me that much. But that was all of the Superman comics that I have. I definitely want to get more because Superman, like I said, is just so fun to read. I don't know why like people ever call him like boring, and I mean nowadays you're not going to see that as much anymore because of that new movie finally proving to everybody that he's sick, possibly one of the best superheroes. Like everyone for years said Superman was boring, and I think that's mainly in part due to the fact that like if you don't like the goody two shoes Superman of like Christopher Reeves, where he wasn't even really fighting people that much, or same thing for Brandon Routh kinda, and if you don't like Man of Steel's super dark and gritty approach, then there's not really a Superman like popular media thing like that that's going to appeal to you, because a lot of people who just kind of are like lightly into superheroes, they don't go out of their way to watch superhero cartoons or like TV shows about superheroes that much. Even like Superman and Lois, they tend to stick pretty much just to the movies, and we haven't had like an all perfect version of Superman that kind of nails both things on the head until recently, because the new movie really hits that stride of like the goody two shoes protector kind of guy, but it also has the fun and intense action of Man of Steel. It's the perfect middle ground, and it's exactly the kind of Superman movie that they should have been making the whole time. Even though I still love the classic ones, they are definitely dated in certain aspects, and they don't fully represent all of what the character is capable of. But yeah, that's what we're here for. Now that we're fucking like 20 minutes into the podcast already, we're gonna re-rank the Superman movies, because that video is already like 2 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. I can still remember making that. Whoa. Like I said earlier, my opinions have changed significantly on a lot of these movies, so the ranking that you're gonna see here is not really the same ranking or ratings that you probably saw in that video. Like I said, it's very dated. But without any further ado, let's start in last place. In last place, it's not on the list I have looked at right now because I kind of took it off because it's not really a Superman movie, but I talked about it in the original video, so I will include it. Supergirl is a really fucking bad movie, and I'm not like putting this dead last as like a fuck, I don't like Supergirl kind of way. Supergirl's lame, like some people say. I actually really like Supergirl, and that's why this movie fucking sucks to me. They did her absolutely no justice with this movie. The character is so boring and nothing like her comic counterpart, and I am very excited for the new Supergirl movie coming out next year that's actually gonna hit that fucking nail on the head probably for me. And really, like, it's the first real Supergirl movie is what I'm saying, and I'm excited for that 100%. But yeah, I did not like this movie at all, because it wasn't even as fun to watch in like the fun bad kind of way like Superman 3 and 4 were. Supergirl just kind of fucking blows, and it's a boring, shitty movie that's very ugly. The villains are fucking terrible. The set design is atrocious. It feels like that Fantastic Four movie from the 90s that wasn't even meant to come out because the effects were literally unfinished or whatever. Godzilla Mendoza's got a good video about how the cast were really screwed over while making that movie. You should go check that out. But yeah, fuck Supergirl. 1 out of 10. It just pisses me off, this fucking lazy cash grab character assassination ass movie. In 8th place, I think that one was 9th place. I might have said 8th place last time, but this is 8th place. In 8th place, we got Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. This movie is definitely shitty, but it's like, at least it's funny in how bad it is a lot of the time, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's pretty short, and I feel like I would have liked this movie just a little bit. I maybe would be able to look past some of the terrible editing choices and script writing, and the fact that they use that same shot of Christopher Reeve flying at the camera like this over and over and over and over and over again. And there's that scene where he rebuilds the Great Wall of China with his eyes. That kind of shit is so funny. That's all I can see when I watch this movie. It's just how fucking funny it was, and how you could tell that it wasn't really trying to be. Like, the plot of this movie is literally a kid writing Superman a letter being like, I think nukes are bad. Whoa, hot take, kid, calm down. I think nukes are bad. You should go round them up in a big old net and throw them into the space. And that's literally what Superman does. He goes and gets every nuke on planet Earth, and he puts it into a big ass net. I don't know where he got this net or how it's this big, but he has a big ass net, and he throws it into space, and it fucking, all of these things fly into the sun. And I guess Lex Luthor like attached his DNA to that somehow from like a hair that he stole from this museum. He like, this piece of hair, by the way, in question was holding up a fucking like 100 fucking ton ball at below it, and Lex Luthor is somehow able to cut through it with a pair of fucking bolt cutters. But yeah, that gets sent into space, and it creates Sun Man. I forget what his name is, so I'm calling him Sun Man. This is what I mean. I would have been able to forgive some of the bad choices in this movie if this guy was replaced with Bizarro. It wouldn't make any fucking sense, obviously, for Bizarro to be born out of the sun. It doesn't make any sense for this sun guy to be born out of there either, but whatever. Bizarro is another one of my favorite Superman villains, up there with Metallo and Parasite, because he's just so fucking fun to me. I really hope that Ultraman plotline leads into a Bizarro thing in the future, because Bizarro is immensely more interesting to me than something like Ultraman. No offense to Ultraman fans, I guess. It would have been a lot of fun to see Bizarro and Superman duke it out on the moon instead of Superman and Sunboy or whatever. If I don't remember his name, and I don't give a shit. Do you remember his name without looking it up? Do you? Him and his big ass fucking nails that he uses to scratch Superman. Oh my god, this movie's so good. I should give this movie first place. This movie's so good. As a comedy movie, Superman is like 4 is like straight up an 8. I don't even usually like parody movies that much, but this is one of the funniest parody movies I've ever seen. As a movie, as a Superman movie, and as a sequel to the other Superman movies, it's definitely like a 2 out of 10, and I'm pretty sure that's what I gave it before. I'm gonna keep it as that. Next up, we have Batman vs Superman. I was so nice to this movie when I first reviewed it, and I don't know why. Like I said, I was just more back then worried about upsetting other people or making their opinions on movies feel invalid or something, but a lot of Zack Snyder fans, that's their favorite thing to do, so maybe I shouldn't have given this movie so much grace or whatever, because I'll talk about this more too when I get to Man of Steel itself, but I understand the vision that they were going for with like making a darker, more grittier Superman. I can understand the idea of putting Superman in the real world and being like, this is how the real world would treat Superman. I get that. I don't like, maybe it would work as like a one-off movie or a trilogy, kind of like what Zack Snyder ended up doing a little bit, but as a fucking like the lead Superman of the larger DC universe, I just don't think that that's the type of Superman vision we should be going with. Like that, there's just not a whole lot of longevity to that kind of character to me and idea, and it takes away from a lot of the the core things that make Superman so fun for everybody. And clearly people wanted those things back because that's all the new movie was, and people fucking ate that shit up. They loved it, and me too, because it is quite simple to make a good vision of Superman. I'm not necessarily saying it's easy to make a good Superman movie, because realistically he might be one of the harder of like the older superheroes to do, because there's just so much shit you have to make work. But creating a good version of Superman can't be that hard. I feel like all you really have to make him do is care about people. He has to be charming, and he has to inspire hope in some way. And the Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman certainly do not make me feel very hopeful. They make me feel miserable watching them, even when that's kind of what they're trying to do, and I get that, but I did not want to watch a whole franchise of misery in my superhero goddamn movie. So I'm gonna rechange my score of, it's still 7th place behind, whatever, it's definitely better than the last two movies I just talked about, but I still don't like it very much. I'm gonna give it, I think I gave it a 5 out of 10 back in the day. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10 these days. That's just how I feel every time I rewatch it. It just doesn't work for me the same way. In 6th place, we have Superman 3. This movie is... But in 5th place, we have Man of Steel. I also was pretty nice to this one in my original video. I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10. But I was really starved for Superman content at the time, not gonna lie. And I think the reason I liked Superman Returns and this one so much when I did that video was because after watching 3 terrible movies in a row, these ones just felt refreshing to have a somewhat coherent idea for a Superman movie again. But this is one of those movies like BVS that every time I rewatch it, I like it less and less. This movie is way too fucking long. It is very poorly lit and super gray, and the action is so good, but that kind of is like all that I really tend to care about anymore. And that even has its problems of its own, because that final action sequence could have just been so much better if they just included any of Superman trying to protect people and not just throwing Zod through buildings or jumping over exploding trucks and letting it blow up buildings. And a lot of people were comparing the ending of the new Superman movie to that. But like I said in my last podcast when I reviewed the movie, they handled it a lot more gracefully and a lot more like what we meant when we would complain about this movie's finale for years. We don't think that it's like bad, the idea of Superman like the city getting destroyed a little bit. It just matters how you do it. In this new movie, they show you very clearly a lot of people evacuating from the city, and the ones who don't evacuate right away are saved by the superheroes, or saved by Superman, like that lady on the bridge. Nobody gets saved in Metropolis, and I don't, like, except for that family at the end, I don't think Superman was even really trying to save anybody. I think he was just focused entirely on stopping Zod, which is not how Superman would do it. He is one of those guys who says, fuck that, I'm gonna do both because I can do both, or I can at least try. And this Superman doesn't, that's why Henry Cavill's Superman doesn't fully feel like Superman to me, because he doesn't feel like a Superman who would say I should at least try, you know? He feels like someone who would just kind of give up. I don't really fully blame Henry Cavill or anything at all for the way this version of Superman turned out. It's mainly the writing and the directing. Like, Henry Cavill's a good actor in just about everything else I've seen him in. I really like him in Mission Impossible, but they just give him very little to do as Superman. He feels like a very half-assed version. I don't know exactly how to put it, but you know, like he's just standing there stoically and staring a lot, and they don't really give him that much personality. But I still feel like Henry Cavill did the best with what he had, and that's one of the few things that save this version of Superman for me, is the fact that you can clearly tell that he still cares about this character and this performance. It's just the writing that's completely fucking him over. Michael Shannon as Zod is really good in this movie. I like how it's weird that they gave him so much more versatility to work with. He really Like, this guy is fucking going crazy in this movie, and it honestly works most of the time. But like I said, I like this a lot less every time I watch it because of certain aspects. The Pa Kent stuff is really dumb. The way he dies is really dumb. Some of the lines in writing is really fucking stupid, like Dick Splash is a line that gets said in this movie. And it is really fucking gray. Like, that's not to say certain parts of this movie don't look good, because they do. And I know Zack Snyder is capable of making a good looking movie with colors and shit in it. He's done it before. I really wish, as someone who's enjoyed a few Zack Snyder films, that he would do something more in the vein of Dawn of the Dead again, and don't say Army of the Dead. That movie was not good, and it looked really bad. I remember when they were like the behind the scenes of that movie, he was like, "Oh, we used this like special lens that's like there's only like 60,000 of them, and they're old. They're from like the 70s or 60s, and we got these in for this movie, this special kind of lens." That like it's just it's so good, and dude, it does not look good. I think there might be a reason that there's only 60,000 of those lenses in existence, because holy shit, it just makes everything that's not in the foreground blurry. That's all it does, and it looks like there's like a smudge on the fucking thing that needs to be wiped off, but that's just how this lens looks. And I don't really like the handheld approach that he's going for now. I think I preferred it a lot more in stuff like Dawn of the Dead. You get a lot more exciting and interesting looking shots in this movie than you would like Army of the Dead. You know, like when at the very beginning when she's getting I forget her name, but she's getting attacked by her husband who's a zombie, and she runs into the bathroom and like slams the door, and then they cut to this like fucking bird's eye POV shot from the fucking ceiling of her falling into the tub. And you didn't need to be doing all that for that scene, but it services it a lot more because it looks really good to shoot it that way, and it's exciting. And I miss when Zack Snyder movies looked like that. Can you tell I just really liked Dawn of the Dead? I loved the first, like the original one, and I loved the remake. They're both super good. Original is one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe I'll do a whole podcast just talking about it at some point. One of my favorite movies without a doubt. But yeah, Man of Steel has some cool aspects, but ultimately, I just don't enjoy it, especially compared to the new movie. It really made me realize how many faults this one had. I gave it a 6 out of 10 before. I'm gonna move it down to a 4. I was gonna say 5, but it's a little below average for me. It's just kind of disappointing in certain aspects, but it's still a very watchable movie. Speaking of movies that the new one has really pointed out faults for me that I didn't notice as much before, my opinion on Superman Returns has changed quite heavily. I when I first saw this movie back in like 2021, it was the first time I had ever seen it, and it was the first Superman movie that I watched in a long time, so it kind of revigorated, I don't say my word, it like restarted my love for fucking Superman after it had kind of died off in my teenage years. And it still holds a special place in my heart for that, but I don't think it's the like 10 out of 10 best Superman movies, Spider-Man 2 Superman movies that I call it before. I still think there's a lot of cool things in this movie, and I love Brandon Routh as Superman. I love his costume, and I love all the scenes of him saving people in this movie, even though the action is kind of lacking in a lot of ways because it just doesn't fucking exist that much. I love that shot where the guy shoots the gun and it zooms in on the bullet as it slams into Superman's eye and just gets destroyed by his eyeball. He doesn't even flinch. That's cool as fuck. I like that a lot. And I love the finale of this movie too, where he like lifts that entire fucking island of kryptonite into the fucking into space and just throws it out into space, and then you're like, oh god, does Superman die? And they're trying to like save him in the hospital, and they try to give him a shot and it just fucking bends off of his arm, and then they try to like use the chest paddles on him and it fucking explodes the machine and causes like a short power outage. I really like that a lot. Very, very fun detail that I never really thought I'd see in a Superman movie. I always love when they do stuff like that, where they remind us just how invincible this dude is. Like when you see him have to shave his face using his own lasers. I really, Really hope we get to see that in a movie at some point. That's so fun. But holy fuck, I haven't watched this movie in 2 years since I made that video, and holy fucking shit, this movie is long. I don't know how I always forget that this movie is 2.5 hours long, but Jesus Christ, is this movie too long, and is pretty boring at points, and the pacing is not great, and it has Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, who he's doing fine, but it's Kevin Spacey, you know. It's one of those things where you can't watch it the same because you're like, why the fuck is he here? And the family aspect, I kind of liked it originally, but this time around when I watched it before I went to see the new movie, I fucking hated the family aspect. I just wanted to skip past everything with Cyclops and Lois and Superman's kid, who has, no offense to this kid, the weirdest haircut I have ever seen on a kid before. It looks like a wig, but I don't know. It's very shaggy and strange looking, and like, Lois, you need to get your fucking kid a haircut. I'm sorry. Like, I have long hair too, but like, at least let his long hair look even. What the fuck was going on with that hair? Lois and Clark don't really have much chemistry in this, so it's hard to connect with the love story. I think the actors that they picked for him are good. I like Brandon Routh, and I like Kate, whatever the fuck her last name is, but their chemistry together is not very strong, so it's kind of hard to like see them being in love or get that invested in their love arc. Oh yeah, this movie is also directed by fucking Bryan Singer. Ew. That's like, I don't know if I knew that the first time I watched it, but when I found that out, that was such a fucking gut punch, dude. That sucks. Because it's just, it's like trying to watch X-Men again, because he made those too, and you're like, damn, these movies are fun as fuck, and then you're like, these movies are made by a fucking pedophile, that's right. Like, why? Why the fuck? Why? Oh my god, I just wish that we could go back in time and erase Bryan Singer's connection to any of these movies, because, and I'm not just saying this as like, before somebody gets defensive of a fucking pedophile or whatever in my comment section, I'm not just saying this because we know he's a pedophile now, but Bryan Singer has always been a mediocre director. The good parts of his superhero movies, which are his only movies I've seen, are the writing and the characters and the way they all interact. His directing style itself couldn't be more generic and bland if you really take a look at it. There's not a whole lot of like scenes or shots from like X-Men that I think back on and I'm like, that's a good ass shot. See what I mean? Bryan Singer directed Bohemian Rhapsody. I did not know that till just now. Wasn't it like public by this point that he was a fucking creep? How did he land the Queen movie? But that movie won like an award for its editing at the Oscars, and I remember everyone being so confused because just looking at that one scene where they like talk to that fucking manager at that table, that the editing is fucking atrocious. Oh man, he made this movie too, huh? He made Jack and the Giant Slayer. I watched that a couple times when I was a kid for some reason. It's not good, but I watched it quite a few times. I just like Nicholas Hoult, I think. But yeah, it sucks so much that Bryan Singer has any involvement in this movie, and it also kind of sucks for me personally that I like it less whenever I watch it, because that is a shitty feeling, especially when I praised it publicly as much as I did in that video and gave like a 10 out of 10 or whatever I gave it. It's just, I don't know, it's just strange now looking back at it. So yeah, fuck Bryan Singer. This movie's okay. This movie's still pretty good. It's a lot better than the other ones that I just talked about. I'm gonna move my score down from a 10 to a 6.5 because I think there's a lot of good shit in this movie, but it's held back by the things that don't make it as good. Wow! And it's also held back by the fucking pedophile. But anyway, third place, Superman 2. A lot of people prefer this one to the original, which I can understand, but I think it's just a little bit more bloated and less like it has less of a coherent and straightforward vision as the first one, and you can tell when you watch this one that there was a director swap like halfway through. There's just scenes in this movie that don't correlate very well. It just kind of makes for an awkward watch at points. But it's a very fun sequel. It has some good action in it for the time, and I like this portrayal of Zod a lot. I forget what the actor's name is off the top of my head, but very good shit. Fun. It's a fun movie, but it's one of those I don't have as much to say about it. To be honest, this is one of the Superman movies that, in my opinion, has pretty much just stayed the same on. Like these last couple, this one and the original, you can go back and watch my video from 2 years ago. Whatever I said then, that's pretty much exactly how I still feel. So yeah, 7 out of 10, and then the original is a 9 out of 10. Classic, feel-good movie, and it's in second place behind the new movie, which I've already talked about a lot in my last podcast episode. But holy shit, man, I cannot stop thinking about Superman since I've seen that movie. I cannot stop thinking about that crazy new remix of the original score that sounds so unique and exciting, but also nostalgic at the same time. I can't stop thinking about how bright and vibrant this movie is, how good the action and cinematography is. This has easily the best cast of characters in any Superman movie. It feels the most like a comic book of any Superman movie. They made Jimmy Olsen cool, they gave Lois a bit more to do, they made Perry White interesting for once. For once, Perry White in a movie is a semi-interesting character and a likable guy. Finally. He was just, I'm sorry, like they had some decent actors portraying him, like in Man of Steel, but as a fucking character, he was so nothing in those movies. In all those other Superman movies, such a nothing character. Just the boss of the place that Superman works at. Like compare him to someone like J. Jonah Jameson. Like it's not even a competition. It's crazy. But this new guy was a lot of fun, and he gave Perry that personality that I've been looking for in a movie. We see a little bit more of his personality in the comics, obviously, because he's been around forever. And I feel like that they really tap more into that, like the Chief Perry kind of side of it. Like this guy knows his shit. He calls the shots, and he's an impatient, kind of angry dude sometimes, but he's not a fucking bully. Lex Luthor is my favorite he's ever been in a movie before anyway. I still have a very strong bias towards Clancy Brown. He might still be my favorite all-time Lex Luthor, just because of the sheer amount of shit that I grew up with him in it as. Or I'll always have a soft spot for him anyway, because I did love Clancy Brown, but I don't think any Lex Luthor speech has given me as much chills as the one where he's like, "My envy is our savior because it has led me to annihilate you, 1A!" That is possibly the best fucking Lex Luthor moment I have ever seen. And Nicholas Hoult sells it 100% of the movie. He is so good. Same with David Corenswet as Superman. Everyone said it, but David Corenswet is one of those actors where you almost forget that he is an actor playing Superman for a second and not just Superman ripped out of a comic and then put into a movie. I love this movie, and I think I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I'm still kind of feeling that. It's not like a perfect movie, but it is easily the most fun I've had watching a superhero movie since, ironically, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. But in like general, I mean, over the last few years, this one has really fucking been enjoyable. And it's so cool to see so many new fans of Superman emerging because of this. I kind of hoped for years that this would be the Superman movie to make more people realize that A, he's not boring, and B, they don't actually hate him, they just hate what adaptations they've seen of him. Because whenever someone tells me that they hate Superman, I'm like, I don't know if you know Superman as much as you think then. Because I think there's a little bit of something for everybody in Superman. And this movie 100% shows that. And there's just so many people now who probably, before this, had never even thought about fucking Superman before. I think about fucking him all the time. But yeah, I love this movie a lot. I could ramble on and on about it, but I already kind of did. So if you want to hear me talk more about it, check out my last podcast episode. I'm very excited to see where the DCU is going as a whole, but I'm really excited to see more of this Superman in particular. It's very cool to see a movie like this inspire so many people in such a shitty time for so many people's lives right now, and the world as like a whole. And it's the kind of feel good movie that everybody needed right now. I think this movie's making this movie. Dudes are taking their little kids to see this movie, and then afterwards their kid just like, Dad, I love you. I look up to you. I've been seeing that on like TikTok. Like dads are talking about that shit, and it's like, whoa, this movie is so good that it's making people appreciate their fucking lives and their parents and stuff more. And in a ironic twist I wasn't expecting, it's helping some of the like edgy internet teenager guys get out of their edgy teenager shitty douchebag phase or whatever. Because I mean, some of it's not fucking phase. Like if you act like a racist and you're 15, you're not going through your racism phase or whatever they call it. You're just a racist. I do try to give teenagers a little bit more grace and shit like that, because I know teenagers just, like they can suck, but like teenagers have always kind of sucked, and I also kind of sucked as a teenager. I wasn't fucking racist like some of y'all are, but I was a douche. I was one of those like quiet people who didn't talk to anybody but acted like everyone hated him. Like the you know that scene in Meet the Robinsons where the kid is like, Goob is like walking through the hall and all these other kids are like, hey Goob, sick binder, and this other kid's like, hey Goob, you want to come to my house after school today? And he doesn't say anything to them, and he's just like, in his narration he's like, they all hated me. Like I definitely got picked on and shit in like elementary school sometimes, but I think I let that like fully affect everything else after that. Like when I was a teenager, I kind of always assumed that like if someone I didn't know who was like maybe more popular or something in the grade was talking to me or like joking with me, then they were probably trying to mess with me and like make fun of me to their friends or something, is what I assumed, when in reality that probably wasn't the case a lot of the time. So yeah, I was kind of like one of those fucking annoying quiet kids who in his head thought he was better than other people for some reason. And then around the age of like fucking 13, 14, probably 14, I was like, I don't really want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be like a moody, quiet guy all the time. You know, I kind of want to just like chill and be myself and be nicer to people. And that was a lot of more what my like high school experience was. I clicked with a lot more people then, and I felt a lot better about myself at the time, and I think a lot of teenagers need to have that like sort of realization where you're like, oh, I just kind of suck, and it's good because it's good for your character growth. It's a good way to mature or start maturing, you know. And it seems like this movie itself is acting like that for a lot of people, and I kind of get that, because it does, media you watch at that age and things you consume influence you a lot. Because I was always more of like I wasn't like a fucking hateful person, but I was like I said, I was just quiet and angry all the time about stuff, and I would consume stuff on YouTube like fucking iDubbbz or shit, like something like that, and or H3, and then around the time of being like 14 or 15, I started watching stuff like Curtis Connor or Drew Gooden and stuff like that, more and it kind of like, their videos have always been like funny, but they also included a lot of like, you know, they included messages in there sometimes. Like Curtis, a lot of the time back in the day, was pretty much just going after people who suck and telling them to stop sucking, and kind of using that as an example to his younger audience as to how to not be a fucking asshole to people, pretty much. And I think a lot of that positivity and like acceptance of other people and being nice is kind of what woke me up to be more just try to be a nicer, more polite and helpful person if I can. So I kind of I get that a lot, and it's really cool to see that this movie is that for a lot of people, a lot of teenagers and shit. It's like their it's time for me to mature moment, and that's pretty cool to see. I know there's still a lot of them who are calling it like super woke or something and cringe shit like that, but I've seen a lot more people say, just going around talking about how empathy and being nice is the new punk rock. And I mean, that kind of always was part of punk rock, but like, it's just nice. It's just very refreshing to see a lot more positivity going around these spaces because of just a movie, and it's really cool to see. So yeah, loved that movie. That was sort of my quick re-ranking and short thoughts on like why a lot of my opinions have changed over the last couple years. I might make a full-blown revamped review of all these movies from my main channel at some point, but I'm not sure. So thanks again for watching. Let me know what your personal Superman ranking looks like, and let me know how you thought about what you thought about the new movie and all that down in the comments below. Get some discussion going on these episodes because it doesn't really happen that much unless you're Gabriel Oliver. Shout out to Gabriel Oliver, of course. But yeah, I don't know, I guess that's it.